Welcome to On the Precipice, MUFON Contact Radio Program with your hosts, CJ Arabia and Richard Banasek, where discovery, disclosure, and evolvement meet. We are on the cusp of evolutionary realizations, technologies, and awareness. So come along and share in the adventure of discovery of who we really are and where we are going.
Hello, everyone. We're back again. Welcome, everybody, to On the Precipice. We're really happy that you're here. We are your hosts, CJ Arabia, and my name is Richard Banasek. And so, again, just like we've probably tried to share with everybody, just the whole idea about what we're trying to do on the Precipice with the MUFON Contact Radio Show is that we just want everybody to continually come on our journey of this new evolved program where we believe that we're on the cusp of many, many things: discovery, disclosure, and of course our own involvement as a being. So really happy today. We're at it again, and I'm really excited about being back. So CJ, what's happening for you?
Hi, Richard. Well, did you realize this is, I think, our fifth show? I think it's our fifth.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
5 already.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
I know, it's crazy. But hi, everyone. Anyone who doesn't know me, I'm CJ. I'm a MUFON field investigator, as is Richard, and that's how we met. And we're both on MUFON's experiencer resource team. And that's why we're here. Like Richard said, we're here to hear people's stories as they relate to UFOs and the phenomenon and all the weirdness that seems to kind of surround it at times. And it just helps us to be better, or at least helps me to be a better ufologist or ufologist, however you like to say it, and better investigator, just to always be educating ourselves. You always hear us talking about books and movies, because I think Richard is like me in that we're just constantly educating ourselves with this topic. And just being as open as you can, you got to be open to look at this topic. So if you've seen a UFO or experienced something that you feels like contact from a non-human entity, you would want to go to MUFON.com to report what you saw. And you're going to see some big red buttons. I can even practice my own. There, Richard's got it. Bill's got it. Thank you. Or someone's got it. So at the top of the page, you're going to see the 2 buttons. You can report a case. You can report a UFO. You can report contact. You can join MUFON. I think for $60, you get the basic membership, which comes with like the newsletter and access to a lot of data that is not available to the non-members, to the public. And you'll get a cool little MUFON ID card. I have one. I think I have 2 of those in my wallet because I'm a MUFON nerd. And then, I was just thinking this morning, it's funny you said that it's like our 5th show. So we did if you haven't been with us before, we did this introduction show. We talked about Earl, who was our mentor, and we kind of introduced who we are, told our stories. I should stop my grandfather clock when I'm podcasting, but I do love the chimes. Okay. Then we had Preston Dennett, right? And we had Dolly Saffron. And is it Saffron or Saffron? Do you know how she pronounces it?
I think it's Saffron.
Saffron. And then Dustin Eccleston and
Utah State Director of MUFON. Yeah,
exactly. And each episode is totally different stories, different things. Dustin talks about cases, and Preston and Dolly talk about different things. But if you haven't seen them, I'd love for you guys to go back and check them out, and then email us. We have this email address. We want to hear what you guys think of, the episodes and what we're talking about and what you have to say about those topics. And our email address is cjandrichard@gmail.com. Couldn't be easier. CJ, you could write it down, but you probably just memorized it when I said it.
One of the things that you were talking about, hey, Bill, could you go back to the MUFON website, specifically to that journal? I just want to sort of emphasize the MUFON monthly journal that's put out. A great source. It's a newsletter, 20, 25 pages, but it covers all aspects of MUFON.
Guest articles by amazing people too.
Articles, cases of interest, videos of interest, people where we're at, and I just think it's something that if we can, I don't know if you can bring it up. If not, but if you go to the MUFON web page, there's a journal section there. You can download it, you can read it. So I just encourage people, because that really gives more of an insight, and it's sort of like a little leaflet book, and it's very evolved and modern, and it's really quick to go through, and it's got a lot of things that you can learn. So I just wanted to emphasize that, because I always like looking at the monthly journal from MUFON, because they do a lot of good work on it.
I do too. I get the hard copy. I like the hard copy, but you can get the digital copy as well. For some people, they're like collector's items, and they like to hang on to them and collect them. Sorry, that's my dog scratching over there. It's summer scratches. Let's see. So we're talking about, we've had some great guests, and please go and check out those shows and let us know what you think about that, and future guests that you might want to have us see on the show, or topics you might want to hear us discussing on the show. Please use that email, cjandrichard@gmail.com, and let us know. We want to talk to you. Next week, I have a guest that I've booked. His name is Francisco Moura Correa, he's a Portuguese man. He's absolutely amazing. I'm half Portuguese. And he's one of the co-founders of ICER, which is the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research, which is ICER.pt, because it's Portuguese. It's not .com. ICER.pt, ICER.pt. He studied the history of both Portuguese and international UFO cases, which is of interest to me, because if you listen to that first episode, I have a connection to the miracle of Fatima. And we're going to have Francisco walk us through the miracle of Fatima, a series of events, not just one event. I mean, it was a series of events, took course over many months in 1917. But we're going to look at that through the lens of ufology. And Francisco is going to help us do it. And he's an amazing speaker, and he's just so knowledgeable and just fascinating. That's kind of it for me, Richard. There's little news stories. I don't know if you're going to get to any newsy type stuff.
Well, the good thing about this on the precipice idea is that we want to make sure that we share the things that we thought from our own perspective people would be interested in. These are just suggestions. These are just ideas. Again, our whole intent is to be honest with you, just to illuminate the path, if you will. And when we illuminate the path, we hope that this stuff interests you. So one of the things that I saw this week, as many of you know, there's a lot of thought about, can you prove UFOs? Can you prove this or whatever? I just want everybody to understand, we're not really here to convince anybody of anything. We're just here to share information. And the things that are out there, if they will, even if they're controversial or they're weird or they're extreme in our own paradigms and perceptions, there is a lot of evidence to this idea of UFOs and UAP. So I'm going to bring up a picture here that I think is a very significant picture, and it'll help share the idea that the evidence of who we are, and for visitors from other places and advanced civilizations and ET and other aspects, are all over the place. They're not just in nuts and bolts and things. They're on other planets. We have sensors out there, cameras, and that have picked and have proven that there's more to it than we even realize. So the picture that I brought up of interest is this one. So just to let you know, this website is called apollospace.com. And I specifically went to one of the pictures that the Apollo people took and this picture as they were revolving around the moon. And so the picture that is of interest, this AS08132223, is all four of those. But the original one, if you go to that website, is this one that's sort of light and it appears to be cloudy, or maybe that's the picture that they wanted you to see. The one on the other end is the one that all I did was just put a little bit more contrast to it, just to bring forward, if you will, some of the things that were on those surfaces. Now, I share this, and I suggest that you look at that and explore it. So the two in the middle are the ones that I wanted to bring of interest. And there's a bunch of other stuff. To the right of the one I contrast, if you look here at about 9 o'clock, if it was a clock, and just go in about a half inch, you'll see these two craters, same crater. The one that's next to the picture is a crater, and then the one that's on the other side is a crater more zoomed in. I don't know what that thing is in the crater. You'll have to decide for yourself. But whatever it is, and you could call it anything that you want, it looks like it's an artificial object. It looks it. And I think that this continues to demonstrate that if you want to look for if there is other life, if there is other beings, if there is a universe out there teeming with life, this picture was done by NASA on this Apollo 8 mission that they went to photograph the moon before they were going to land on there. And this seems to show, among all the other things that is in the picture, that there seems to be something artificial there. Looks like a potential craft of some sort.
What is it? It's hard to tell, Richard, in this because it's small on my computer. What about it? It looks artificial. What are the, like, it looks like maybe a boulder.
Right. So if you go back to the one that's a little bit wider than the one that's totally zoomed in, you can see a crater.
Yep.
And to the right, you see something there that's got a shine to it. And then if you go back to the one that's even closer, if you look at it really in detail, it's got structure. It's circular. Ooh. There's a shadow underneath it. It's got a couple of levels. There's something on top. It just looks like it's artificial. Whether it's a craft, whether it's a building, whether it's something else, it's artificially on the moon before we were on the moon because they were surveying it. Now you can go to this website. That website, you can look for that picture, just put in that picture number, and you can see it for yourself. What you're going to see is this one, for me, is on the left that's sort of obstructed with light. The one on the right, I just added a little contrast to bring forward some of the stuff with there. You can do it yourself. I just thought it was really interesting, and I think it's something that, you know, that there's evidence of this everywhere. So we want to share it. So the other thing I wanted to share that actually was pretty cool. The theme for our show today is a lot. It's obviously about a little bit more in depth with the subject of ufology, the MUFON ERT team. We do a lot of stuff with people who have reported experiencing the phenomenon, ET, abductions, other strange and anomalous things. And so our theme this week is sort of going into that, if you will, rabbit hole and going down the rabbit hole. But besides that, I think one of the things I wanted to share with people is just this idea of expanding who they are and how they can maybe look at a group that's done some really good work in studying human consciousness, and that's the Monroe Institute. So what you have here is their webpage. That's their webpage. The thing to the right there is their app that you can buy if you're interested. But they do a lot of work in studying consciousness, and their whole purpose is advancing this global idea of human consciousness and helping people to create more meaningful and joyful lives through the guided exploration of expanded consciousness. And they have those type of programs and ideas. It's just a suggestion. Again, there's many forums, there's many formats. It's just a thought.
There's lots of institutes like this. Yeah, they're cool.
And it's a really, really good thing. And I just wanted to make sure that as we go with our program, what we wanted to do is just share thoughts for people to think about. So I think that's a really cool thing that we were able to do and have on our show. Anything else that you think that you want to maybe tell everybody before we bring on our guest?
No, I would just say, check out our little plug for Dan Harari, who hopes to join us soon with some news. And he has the HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org and also the wowsignal.news right there on your screen. And you can go there, and they are a news service that focuses on UFO, UAP news. contact news, all the things we're talking about. And there's guest columns. I write one of the columns, and a few other, Dan writes a column, and it's a great place to go and check out the latest news. But on there, I had written, because when we had Dolly, she had talked about some kind of possible cataclysm happening within our own lifetime. She said she was getting news or information about that from who she speaks to. And I know that Chris Bledsoe also had said in a podcast earlier this year that on Easter 2026, he feels something really big is going to happen. And I don't have anything other than to say that I do hear a lot of people making these kind of sort of predictions. So a lot of people seem to be getting a similar message or feeling about next year or the near future. And it's just something I'm keeping my eye on. So if you guys out there see any other stories like that, please email them to me, because I want to read all of them. I want to hear from everybody who seems to be getting a feeling like that. And just, I don't know, hear what they say. It's fascinating to me.
All right. So this week's guest, for those of you who are ready with anticipation, is Debz Shakti. And so if we can bring on Deb and we can introduce her to the audience. There she is. Hey, Deb, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm so good. Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here again. Love it.
And so Deb and I had talked, and we were discussing things before she came on, and I like the fact that she sent me some stuff that I want to put up so that she can tell us about them. So Deb, tell us about these pictures and the work that you are so passionate about that you do as we get started.
Okay. Well, the one with the client lying down on a table is some of the work that I do, which is more energetic healing work. I call it energy alchemy because it's just, I came in to this life being able to perceive and manipulate energy and work with energy. Even as a child, was helping people to heal. Like people would bring their grandma or somebody and ask me to sit with her and she would feel better, heal animals and so forth. So over the years, because I'm kind of straight down the middle between spiritual and science, I've also taken a lot of education to try to explain to myself and the people I work with, what this is. Basically, I work with the quantum field. I just pull energy from the quantum field, information, data, whatever. And in that picture, what I'm doing is working with that person's energy. The other picture where I'm playing the drum is a picture from a retreat, actually, that I'm getting ready to do next week. Again, I do lots of retreats, but this one is up in Wisconsin. It's called the Contact Modalities Experiment. And I was doing some work with the group. We have a big group of people who come, and getting them into a trance state so that I could take them through a quantum hypnosis journey so that they could make better contact. I work with consciousness. I'm a big science person, as I said. So started with clinical psychology, quantum physics, and now neuroscience. So you'll see a lot of things on my website, but they all work together coherently to bring forth a higher level of consciousness. I'm just a consciousness person more than anything else. So I don't know if that answered your question at all, but
you did. And so you know what? So we don't get too far down without. So let's just start at the beginning, and I think it's a very important place. Tell us about who you are. Tell us where you come from. Tell us your background. The thing that I'm also very interested in, and one of the things that you said, you were born fully activated. Mm-hmm. In terms of your psychic abilities and the way you understand energy. And then with that, so your background fully activated, and then maybe your first experiences with the phenomenon ET extraterrestrial. Sure. So people can know who you are.
Right. Well, like I said, I was born a little bit differently than most people. I didn't know it at the time, but I do perceive multidimensionally. And that's why I love studying quantum physics, because it kind of helps us to explain what I was experiencing as a child and couldn't explain, where I was seeing, different beings and different worlds overlaying the world that you and I, normally look at. But because in quantum physics, we know that there are infinite realities and they all exist all at once, forever in the same place, right?
And
Forever.
they overlay on top of each other.
Right. When I'm trying to explain it to the uninitiated, I say, think about one lifetime being a microscope slide, and then there's another one and another one, another one, but they all go out, not just in these dimensions, but in all dimensions. So it's still kind of a mind puzzle, but in each one of those slides, there's at least one of you. I believe there are infinite yous,
Right.
and they're all doing different things. They're all having a life.
Right.
And every time you make a decision between one or many other choices, you're not just affecting the life that you're living now, you're creating other universes where you do those other things. So the further out you go in those stacks of slides, the less you look like this you, and the more you're doing different things, including maybe living as an ET or an angel or a ray of light or whatever.
So you remember when we were kids, we all used to have the TV where it was just a rabbit ears, and then sometimes you would bleed over to one channel or you bleed over to another, and you'd have 2 or 3 different things. Yep. That's usually how I'd like to explain it to people, because you do that in your dreams anyway. You can sit there and all of a sudden you can daydream, which is another sense, or you dream and you go in and out and you wonder, or you see things or experience things. And so it's important that people realize, as you said, this is not some foo-foo out there stuff. This is really everybody's experience, and your ability is a little bit more fine-tuned, or it resonates. So anyway,
No, that's a very great way of explaining it. And thank you for bringing up the word attuned, because really, I believe what a good part of my work is to help teach people, give them an experience and help teach them how to tune into these other realities, the other facets of themselves, basically, whether that's to recover memories, to solve problems, to heal, or to just explore the vastness of creation. It doesn't matter. I really love those people, by the way, because they're just so ready to do anything, to face anything. But to go back to the original part of my story, as a child, I even had, from earliest memory, I had other families overlaying my physical family. And I would tell my physical family about them. My parents just thought I was a very intelligent, creative kid till I went to school. And then they're like, you need to kind of, because the nuns kept sending me home saying this isn't flying in Catholic school. So anyway, but my very earliest memory, which I just recovered, by the way, maybe 2 years ago, I thought I had an earliest memory, and then I went back and recovered something that was even more profound. And that memory is from when I was about 2 to 3 months old. I was a newborn infant. I was choking in my sleep. I was about to die. And I remember, now my human self has always remembered this as a human memory. I thought it was one of my parents picking me up. I thought it was my father picking me up, bringing me to the chest, patting me until I stopped choking and holding me, and then putting me back in my crib in a way where I wouldn't suffocate, because I was suffocating. Mm. I had a spontaneous regression in a meditation one time about 2 years ago, when I was communing with the guides that I work with, called the teachers, or the star teachers. And maybe I was missing my dad or something, and I was thinking about that memory, and instantly I was told, that was a screen memory. It's time that you see what really happened. And I was suffocating to death. I was choking. I was near death. But the hands that picked me up were giant hands, 3 fingers, 1 little thumb, and it was a 7.5 foot star being that looked like the star teachers look, the people that I work with. And it picked me up, held me to its chest, patted my back, and then did something energetically to me to save my life. And then held me there where I could feel its heartbeat. But as a baby, as an infant, I was staring at the chest of this being, and this being was translucent, kind of black, looked like black glass that you could see through. And when you looked into its chest, all I saw was galaxies, the universe, stars, planets. And yet there was this pulse in the center of life in its chest. And
it was black, blue, did you say?
The body was translucent black.
Oh, I see.
Like it was made out of like black glass almost.
Right.
But when I looked at it, you could see into it. And instead of seeing veins and organs and stuff, like those old anatomy sculptures we used to have in art, all I saw were galaxies and planets and universes. And at the center of that, where my head was, where the heart would be, was this pulsing golden light. And that golden light was infusing me and bringing me back to life, basically. And there's just so much love. I just remember that love. And then I remember it putting me down in my crib, and I looked up and saw the full being. And I just felt love. I wasn't afraid. I was a baby. And so that was my very earliest memory. And from then on, I have had experiences, constantly, every day, every night. I still do. I'm very grateful. I have a kind of a main group. Like I said, they don't have a name. They say they are evolved way past having names. But I asked for names, so they said, you can call us the star teachers or the teachers. And it was then that I remembered, that it just kind of started coming back full circle. Oh, I've seen these people all my life, but I always thought I was seeing an owl. I used to think I saw owls all the time. And even now, even though I live in a city, I live by a little lake in a city. When I go outside at night or early morning, if I hear owls, I know that I'm going to have an experience like then. And I always do. But, experience after experience, many different beings, not just one civilization. And even, because I was raised in a religious family, I've had experiences with angels. Even the night before my father passed, I was with him, sitting up with him. I was doing the energy work and the drumming and everything. And there was a giant angel at the foot of the bed. And I thought, boy, I'm hallucinating. I've been up for 4 days with my dad and I'm sad and all this, but thank you. That's a really great vision. And about that time, my dad came out of his kind of morphine-induced coma and said, do you see that big angel at the foot of the bed? And I said, yes, Dad, I do. And so I knew it was real.
Oh, wow.
So, and then he passed a few hours later. He was at peace after that. He was really struggling at that point, but he was at peace and rested and went ahead and left. But to go back to early childhood, my dad was in the military and then eventually moved into the Justice Department. But in the military, we moved a lot, right? We moved from Southern California, where he worked at an air base, which is a story unto itself now as I look back, to another air base in Georgia. And I was 9, and we moved to a new housing development there in that town in Warner Robins, where there was like 60 miles of pine forest behind our house. Moving from, near LA, California, you might as well say LA, but it was San Bernardino, with a little postage stamp yard, to this place where we could just wander. My brother and I could just wander for days if we wanted to out in this pine forest. And Mom had by that time other children. And so my brother and I would just go out in the woods every day and play. It was freedom. It was beautiful. But one night my brother woke me up out of a sound sleep and said, we have to go out in the woods. It's on fire. And I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but I got up got my clothes on. We snuck out of the house and went to the woods, and it looked like it was on fire. When we got to the place where we had built our fort, was out in the middle of a little meadow in the middle of the forest. There was a giant mothership hovering. And here's the thing. This was, let's see, I was 9, so 1965, 66, something like that. Way before this movie came out, but it was almost exactly the same as that mothership in Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the end of the movie. It was that big. It had all the lights. It had all the music. It had all the cool stuff. And I can just remember being mesmerized. And then I remember everything. I looked around and all the things that were on the forest floor that should be pine needles, pine cones, rocks, were just in the air all around us, hovering, levitating. And then we didn't, I don't remember anything, or I do now, but at the time, for many decades, did not remember what happened. All I remember was waking up in the bed the next morning and my brother saying, "Go hide your clothes. We're going to get in trouble because we've got mud all over our clothes and we can't let mom and dad know we're out. And don't ever, ever tell anybody about this." And so we made a blood brother pact or something about it. And then, of course, decades later, I go to the premiere of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and there's that ship at the end of the movie. And I'm like, okay, how did Steven Spielberg know what I saw? And my only answer is he's seen it too.
Yeah.
He's seen it too. I still get chills thinking about it. I can still, and years later can tell you that we were taken up a lot and going to what Whitley Strieber calls the secret school for children. We were being educated about how to save the world. Very quickly became an eco-activist, civil rights activist, activist, and very concerned about raising people's consciousness at a very early age.
So this led to your education too, right? So
yes,
I know you said that you went to school. So I know it was for hypnotherapy or just therapy, just in general, right? Can you talk a little bit about that background?
Yeah, clinical psychology. I actually thought that was kind of at the time, in the mid-70s, in the early 70s, mid-70s, that was kind of the route you would go to learn about the mind. It was the best one for me. I could have gone into psychiatry, but I didn't want to be involved with drugs. And psychology was more about just getting in there and studying the mind and understanding how the mind worked. And so once I got in there and began doing, the more advanced work, I realized that hypnotherapy, the program I was in, was their main, the main focus was on hypnotherapy and biofeedback. They were two very cutting edge things at the time. And so once I got into it, started studying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hypnosis is very much like the meditation practices and all the yogic practices I've been doing for years. Because at age 13, I got exposed to a yogi and became a yoga teacher really quickly and a meditator, and have been doing it ever since. So these two things really, really started perking my ears up about how we work internally. And, fast forward through school and all those experiences, hypnotherapy really started turning my crank. I just loved it because people could release. They could go inside and see themselves clearly. But back then, you did that. If you regress someone, you regress them to their childhood or to a certain experience to help them get through. Like if they'd had a car wreck or if they wanted to stop smoking, you would find out the reason that they were smoking and help them get rid of that. But in my supervised sessions, because I had all these other things, because I'm psychic, because I use energy, I was, consciously or sometimes subconsciously bringing some of that into the sessions with the client. And they would go not just to their childhood, but they would go to other lives. And then they would go to other, forms of life. And the whole time, as an intern and everything, you're being supervised. Well, my supervisor eventually became my boss. He was the dean of the PhD program. And he called me in one day and he said, Deb, he's like, you do phenomenal work. I've seen miracles in your sessions, but I have to warn you, if you continue to do the other stuff that you're doing in those sessions, you're never going to be accredited because you have to follow the rules. And those things aren't allowed. And some of the stuff that you're bringing up is going to be in question. They're going to question the validity of what you're doing. And he's like, only thing I can advise you to do is you can cut that stuff out and go by the script of the way we do things, according to the APA, or you can, go rogue and put your shingle out. You won't be able to take insurance or anything like that, which is what everybody was, trying to do. But you'll be free and you can do the work the way you want to. And I decided to do it that way. So, and we maintained a fabulous relationship until the time he died, which was in the early 2000s. But that was some of the best advice I ever got. Because if I had remained and gone into the structure of clinical, I wouldn't be here today doing what I do and working with people like you guys.
So I just want to make sure that everybody understands. You had this from the very beginning, since you were very young. So yeah. Yours is an energy. Yours is that work that through seeing the things that you saw, and then so help us to bridge, just for the sake of the audience, the extraterrestrial, and you call it a couple of things. You call them extraterrestrials, or you call them interdimensionals, or you call them celestials. And then, of course, you use these other things, which people use, star teachers. Mm-hmm. Some people call it various other things, albeit. So tell us about that and tell us what that means and how they interrelate, because it's a very important point.
It is an important point. It's hard for some people to grasp because human beings seem to be very attached to the practice of categorization, labeling, right? And just FYI, the teachers have always said that they are us on a higher level of frequency. Or if you want to think linearly, they're us in the future. And that they have evolved to such a vibrational state that they no longer feel separate. They are a group entity. However, they each have individual qualities and gifts that come into play when they work as one. But the categorization is out. There's no dualism in the frequency where they exist. And they're trying to get us to move out of this one and up to that one eventually.
Like awareness.
Yes, an expansion of consciousness, basically. So what I hate labeling, but if I want to give any of these forms of what my friend Chris Bledsoe calls it, the phenomenon, or Whitley calls the visitors, or, people call them, whatever. You could call them spirits, ghosts, whatever. Our ancestors, they're all consciousness. They're all consciousness, non-local consciousness.
Just aspects of it.
We're all aspects of the same consciousness because it's all us. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to swallow, because they're like, well, I am not that, especially with all the indoctrination of negative programming we've had thrown at us over the years. Not to disparage Hollywood. Sorry, Dan Harari, I'm not going to do that because I think you're doing good work. But, sci-fi films, horror films showing ETs, attacking the Earth, alien invasion, all these horrible things. What they've been leaving out up until recently is it's just consciousness, and it's another form of us trying to communicate with us, trying to interact at some point with us.
Right. So, and I think that's probably one of the core things on the precipice is trying to help people become aware of. And
Mhm.
what I mean by that is we're stuck in our own paradigms, first of all, and whatever that means, and our beliefs, which we put ourselves in a box. Some people call them a frame. Some people call them whatever you want to call it. And we got various thoughts, and it's understandable because it's an evolution of thought and idea. But we're also stuck in this idea of control, or our idea of fear. Obviously, fear is a big thing in terms of control, the one or the other, and then this whole idea of ego. And I think the big thing that a lot of people who want to bring awareness is that if we're able to somehow put our fear aside and put maybe the idea of who we are as in this particular context, this particular manifestation, and maybe just expand that with the understanding that everything that we need to expand that and to be perceptive of that, to be aware of that, is really what we already are. It's that, right. It's that thing in the band or the frequency or the volume or whatever you want to call it. We need to turn up one and turn down the other, or and balance them out. We don't need to be one more than the other. We are having a human experience. It's there for a reason, and it's there for us to do it. So that's an important aspect, and that's a lot of what we see in the MUFON ERT thing.
Yes.
The MUFON ERT, if we're talking about, people who've had, encounters, people who've had sightings, people who've had missing time, people who've experienced some pretty intrusive things, people who are paralyzed on a table, who can't look and see anybody, and somebody's got a needle, or somebody's not allowing them to talk, or somebody not allowing them to express themselves, or they're being angry, or why are they dumbing me down or clouding me up? And, those are some things that we want to try to also help people. And that's one of the reasons why it's good to have a person like you. And Dolly was like that, Dolly Saffron, which what she expressed. But you and your experience with energy and consciousness and those other areas that people talk about can maybe bring some awareness as to why those things happen. We're going to talk about, the alien abduction answers in just a bit. That is a great thing, and I want to talk about it. But is that what you use in terms of helping people to understand them through all these things, not only trauma in their own lives, but also these other experiences? And I guess I just want to sort of bring us an awareness that it's not something that somebody's spoon feeding us. I guess what you're saying, and this is an important thing that I like what you said, they are us, we are them.
Yes.
And we've been through this all along. And if we can see it from that perspective, as much as that we're able to, then we're so much more than we even realize.
We're unlimited, basically.
Right. And our experiences.
And not only are they us and we them, we are each other. And I think that's a huge point. I think that's why we have so much, one of the reasons why we're having so much contact now, why so many people are, not just because we're able to talk to each other about it easier because of the internet, but two things. Number one, as a species, our vibrational state has raised. Despite all the ugliness that's out there, we are still more joyful. We are still more loving. We are still more grateful at certain points. Some of us try to maintain that a lot. That's some of the work that I do too, is trying to teach people how to sustain a high vibration. Once you're in a certain bandwidth of vibration, your perceptive abilities blow wide open and you're able to see more of what's always been there, but you haven't seen before. So you're going to start having more contact. You're going to start getting more what you would call inspiration or downloads or upgrades or healing. It's because of the vibrational state. So that's number one. I try to teach people what that's about and how to raise it, how to sustain it, and how to keep expanding it. And then things start to expand for them. Number two is this notion of contact seems to be, at least from my perspective, all the thousands of people I've worked with, all the thousands of workshops and encounters and things that I've had with people, the baseline message is you have to learn how to understand that you are all connected and that there should be no disparity between you. And until you can work together and live together harmoniously, accepting each other's variability and gifts and using them correctly in coherence, you're not going to get up to that place where we are. And they're not going to do the homework for us. We have to, do this, but they keep giving us messages. So that's kind of what I do, is try to get that point across, and if you look at our world right now, it is very dualistic. It's very fear-based. Everything's about being afraid of this person or that thing or that belief system or that situation. And it's very simple because, why it's there. There are some savvy people who know that the masses are easily controlled when they're in fear.
Right.
If everybody knew what you and CJ and I know of our consciousness and of our ability to be more and know more and feel more, then the world would be completely different. The world would be how the teachers say most of the cosmos lives, which is in, coherence, in harmony, creation, fun.
But that's the crux of what you do, energy work. And I mean, the idea that you're talking about is, and years ago, I used to listen to this guy called Norman Vincent Peale. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
The
power of positive.
Everybody who's aware of the power of positive thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, and again, as you do that, and as you go into that, and as you understand it, you start to realize that you actually manifest who you are and your future. And then how we interact with everybody through that manifestation, it just forms itself and it seamlessly integrates, and there is no issues, as opposed to controlling, letting it go. If you let it happen in that sense, it actually is a higher level of thinking. But again, you have to get past some of the paradigm issues and some of the preconceived notions and some of society's teaching about control.
Right. You have to really be deprogrammed.
And ego. And
ego.
And so this brings us back to this whole idea about the alien abduction, because that phenomenon that's happened, even though there may be some underlining things that are significant and important. But if we can, before I go on to the alien abduction, so tell me what the Vortex is, the online community that you're a part of.
The Vortex is, it's just a free online community that I started a couple years ago for experiencers to have a safe space to speak about, whatever they need to speak about, to ask questions. People are terrified in our society, not as much now as they were even 5 years ago, but to speak about some of the experiences they've had or think they've had. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to get divorced. They just want a safe space where they can talk to other individuals who might, have the same thing or an answer for them. And it's been on hiatus for a few months just because I've literally been gone the whole year doing retreats and conferences, and speaking engagements. But I still interact with everyone, and it's a Facebook group. Not everybody likes Facebook, so I'm trying to find a different platform to put it on where everyone can, maybe we'll do it on WhatsApp or something. But about once a month, I'll have a meeting where we actually all get on and we'll talk and discuss a topic. And then I will do a quick little meditation or a quantum hypnosis kind of therapeutic thing, just reading the room. I don't usually prepare for that. I just wait and see what comes up. The psychic abilities that I have also allow me to channel very easily. And really channeling is just tapping into the quantum field and pulling information you need, so when I lead a meditation or speak on a topic or whatever, I often don't do a whole lot of preparation because I've learned that it's going to come, and it's just going to come in the way that's needed for the people who are listening.
Right.
So that's what we do. But these people, some of them are very introverted or very afraid. They may stay off camera and never speak for several months, and then suddenly they might come on and ask a question without their camera. And then months later, they might even turn their camera on.
Is that a social media page, or is that
it's on a Facebook group called The Vortex. But
is that how you can find it?
You can find it through my website. It's the easiest. Everything that I do, you can find on my website. A link.
We'll put that up later so that everybody can see. But anyway,
It does work like, and if they need referrals to other things, kind of like the ERT, I will refer them to other people. I mean, I can only handle so many cases a month, and I'm grateful for all the work, but some people I think might work better with this person, or some people I refer to MUFON, because I refer everybody to MUFON, basically, if they've had a sighting, if they've had an encounter, because I think it needs to be documented more than one place. But so that's what I do. But I do a lot of quantum hypnotherapy work with them. And I started calling it quantum hypnotherapy about 45 years ago, just because it's more comprehensive to me. I put more responsibility on the client than a passive hypnosis client would come into a regular psych visit.
Right.
They have to practice certain practices ahead of the workshop. They have a very extensive, very deep self-explorative questionnaire they have to fill out. And then they have to continue doing this work to raise their vibrational state enough so that when we get into the session proper, they can go into the field and pull everything. So I don't know if we're up to that break point now or not. I don't want to get into too much more, but yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple more minutes, okay. and what I would like to do when we come back from the break, because I want people to see the trailer that you sent us, and the next subject area that we're going to talk about, which is that alien abduction answers. So I do have a question for you. So when you talk about channeling or performing energy work or counseling, is that all done in the Vortex stuff, work that you do? Do you also have a private practice? And I know you do workshops that relate to that. So is that how you do your work? Or
I've been doing my private practice for over 50 years, every day. Yeah, I hardly take a day off. So the workshops, the retreats, the conference presentations, all that's on top. That's the cherry on top. But I work with clients every day. In fact, I came from working with a client to this interview. So Vortex is more about community. It's about creating a safe space so that people actually feel comfortable enough to talk about it. And if they need, private one-on-one therapy, they can come to me, or like I said, I'll refer them to someone else I think might be even better, depending on what their case is. So
this involves the next area, which is where we're going to go just after the break, but your hypno-regression stuff that you do.
Yes.
That's huge work, and that's uncovering people's either screen images or traumas that are to just tell us a little bit about that before we go to break.
Yeah. So we go and, like I said, we do this very in-depth consultation, and it takes several hours. The first one takes several hours. And then we do the journey proper, the quantum hypnosis journey proper, where I will take them through and get them into the quantum field or outer space or wherever they like, wherever they feel comfortable. And I'll say, we're going to go to the most appropriate time and place that's relevant to what we've been talking about. I let their higher self, their soul, send them. And they always go to the proper place. And they see things super clearly. I tell them I'm running a cosmic news show, and they're my star reporter. And I send them out on assignment, and they're the reporter. They're calling it in to me. And I'll ask them questions, and they just tell me what they're experiencing. And so they do that without this is very significant too, without pain, without suffering, I've got it down so well that they can go and just be very neutral. And once they see what's happening clearly, all their misconceptions are gone. And usually there's a call to action that happens. They find out what their purpose is, or they find out how to get their life back together, or how to use this to improve their life. And it's a beautiful thing that happens every single time. I mean, it just is an amazing process.
It's amazing that the doors that you closed, or your closets where you put your skeletons, or you put your traumas, and that we all have them. I mean, to varying extent. That through that process, and especially through somebody who is very sensitive and has the ability to allow those people to follow a path that can open up and of course help them start their journey, whether it's to recovery or to identity, who they are or what they are, and set aside those things that have been sort of suppressing their own energy. So I think it's a really cool thing. And I'm really looking forward to, after the break, of watching the trailer that you brought of the movie, talking a little bit about John and especially Whitley, because he is involved in the movie, and then your involvement with it, maybe even a little bit about Susan from the Jackrabbit abduction enigma case that we were involved in, that you and I have participated in. So I think we'll go to the break now. We have a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll look at the movie. Okay. All right. Thank you. See you in a bit.
To your seats, Cosmic Explorers. KGRA Digital Broadcasting, the unrivaled #1 source for raw, uncensored paranormal and UFO talk radio, has just unleashed a sizzling online merch store. Stay cosmic on the move with accessories, rugged phone cases, vibrant yoga mats, and notebooks perfect for jotting down UFO sightings. Ignite your obsession with the unexplained through bold, exclusive gear that demands attention. Kicking off with the Supernova, the store launches 2 heart-pounding collections, KGRA Digital Broadcasting and Bishop James Long. Every item you grab helps power the network and its groundbreaking shows. Stand with the truth seekers. Act fast, score your stellar swag, and join the uprising today.
So you don't care about his life. You just care about covering up your little top secret stuff going on. Meanwhile, this man's dying. How dare you put these people in the military to defend us, and then when they come out, you just kick them to the curb.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
Well, we're back from our break, and we're going to continue. We're going to continue with the movie. And 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 we're going to continue with The first hour was a pretty interesting dive into something that I realized that some people listening may be a little out there, a little esoteric, or a little whatever you can't touch it. Again, this is the issue reason why I bring up you can't touch it. So much of our world, we're thinking it's got to be physical, it's got to be hard, it's got to be, I got to be able to, touch it, feel it, smell it, whatever the case is. And, and what we're talking about, and even if you be honest, to be honest with you, is even the quantum mechanics physicists are talking about this whole idea of the essence, the spirit, and it's all about energy, right? It is all about energy. And it's all about, they're even talking about it in a quantum sense that the energy was there first, then the thought, coupled with what the thought created in terms of an emotion, and then the manifestation came. And I'm not trying to be woo-woo about it, but this is actually science.
Oh, that's science. that's
science. And now they're catching up to the ancients in our own land and those who understood it, the Indians, the Vedic people, the Hindus, even the people in modern day religions, a lot of them, they've had their own encounters or dreams or contact or things that they weren't sure how to deal with because of their framework, their box was put in. So I don't want anybody to think that, we're trying to go in the woo-woo sense. All we're trying to also do is just say, think about this. The thing that I know about thinking about this, everybody, whether if they can be honest with themselves, have had dreams, have had visions, have new things, we used to call it deja vu, which is a good way of example. And, that's how that's deja vu, or that's just a coincidence. And then we're calling it more synchronicities. And
right.
Then all of a sudden, some of the things that we've done in our ERT, well, my dad passed 3 days ago, but I smelled his cigar just earlier when I was on the deck that he used to smoke these cigars, and it automatically took me back to him. And, those are things that we're talking about. Those are not coincidences. Those are reminders. And we just, this whole idea is to, get people to think about this whole idea about energy and consciousness and even what the phenomena is. Those ships don't fly by themselves. They don't. An interdimension, whatever you want to call it, there is a science also to it besides just this whole energy idea. So I'm glad that we're part of it. So what I want to talk about, if we can, is this cool thing that probably this is how you and I actually met.
Yeah.
Because it brought Susan Ware, who is the Jack Rabbit abduction enigma case. But tell us a little bit about this, or should I, do you think I should do the trailer first, or would you like to tell us a little bit about this project?
You know what? Maybe we should play the trailer first and let them get an emotional connection, and then I'll talk about it. How's that?
So let me see where I'm at here, and so I can.
If it's possible.
Right. So here we go. Can you all see that pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
This is not communication. It's communion. Hundreds of thousands of people have claimed contact. That will change you. It changed me.
Lost in between two worlds and two dreams.
This was something that I kept buried for years. Strange things would happen. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore.
He came at me, and I fought for my life.
Ships started to pop up in the sky. And there's this bizarre disk of light. It is moving across the sky very fast.
The experience is awful. very terrifying.
If I felt fear, I would crawl under my covers, hoping that it would go away, whatever it was.
I know that we were put in that craft. I knew I was going to go to another planet.
And the being was right next to my face.
He saw two shadow beings. That's when I felt like I was going to die.
I had a real encounter with something. Even if I had to live with the fear, is to know the truth, is to know.
Was that not cool? Just, it's so powerful, that movie. The one thing I want to say before we get going, you got to watch this movie. You got to see it. It's done very well. It was John's vision, and you're going to tell us about that and your involvement and the groups that came as a result of that are working through. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for showing that. I always cry every time I see it now, because for people who don't know, John Yost, the filmmaker and the main, focus of the movie, passed away last summer, or last spring, actually. And so we met working, being introduced to a project proposal that had nothing to do with any of this. And talk about being told, after this Zoom meeting with a bunch of, people in the film industry and other things, the teachers said, I felt something from him. I kept feeling like he was this big grand person, and he was very commandeering and very, very eloquent in his speech and everything. But I kept feeling this man's suffering. And so afterwards, the teachers came in and started hammering me and saying, reach out to him and tell him you would like to work with him. Offer him your services. And I'm like, that guy doesn't know me from Adam, and I don't want to sound like a kook. I don't even know how to get hold of him. And they're like, you have his email address. It was in the email inviting you to the meeting. So after about 3 days of resisting, which I usually don't, I usually do what the voices in my head tell me, by the way, but I didn't this time. They kept getting louder and louder. And finally I did. I was very humbled. And I said, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but in the meeting we were in the other day, I could feel that you were suffering from something. And if I can be of service, here's what I do. Please let me know. And if not, please forgive the intrusion, something really, dumb like that. And within minutes, because my phone number is on the bottom of my signature, he called me and he said, how did you know? And that's how our relationship began. He was not a believer. He had an experience when he was 7 years old as a child. And from that moment on was told to never talk about it. His father was very adamant that he not talk about it, that it wasn't real. What he thought he saw as a child was the Japanese children's TV show character Ultraman when he went to the bathroom one night in his house. And he wasn't afraid of Ultraman, but something happened during that encounter that made him kind of freak out. And he fell down the stairs and woke his parents up. And that's when the fear started coming in, because his dad was upset that he caterwauling and all that. So anyway, the man did not believe in hypnotherapy. He swore he could not be hypnotized. And I love people like that, because usually they're the ones who are the best. Really smart people are easy to hypnotize, by the way, especially the resistant ones. And over about a period of a year and a half, we just got to be friends. I just said, let's just talk. Okay, we'll just talk. Kind of like I do with the people in the vortex. We just talk. And you can talk to me about anything. Talk to me about your garbage man. I don't care. But over that time, he started telling me about his life. And what I found out is he was terrified. From that instant, he started getting strange fears. Like he was afraid to be in big crowds. He was afraid to be outside under the sky by himself. He was afraid to be out by large bodies of water, and he didn't know why. So this giant man who everybody thought was, big bad, was terrified to even leave his office, be the last one to leave his office at night without someone walking with him to his truck. And so he even, got a license and carried a gun, and he didn't know why, and he was suffering. And he also felt like, he just couldn't remember. And I said, well, if you were in the bathroom and this Ultraman was in the doorway looking at you, and the next thing you remember is you're standing outside the back room of the bathroom with your back to the stairs, and he's in the doorway of the bathroom, something happened between those two incidences. And he said, I never thought about that. What is that? And I said, well, I would like to find out. Someday when you're brave, we'll do it. And he was resistant. So we started with little mini sessions, little things that he wouldn't be afraid of, like going back to his favorite Christmas memory and things like that. And right in the middle of the pandemic lockdown, he called me one day and he said, Debz, I think I'm ready to do the big one. That's what he called quantum hypnosis. He's like, I think I'm ready to do the big one. I said, well, cool. I'll set you up with a Zoom and we'll do it. And he's like, no. I want to do it in the studio. I want to film it. I'm being told I need, by that time he was using terms like that. I'm being told, that it needs to be filmed. And even if it's just me who sees it, I want it to be filmed. And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. At that time, we couldn't fly. And he said, it will happen. Just say yes. And I'm like, okay, but I don't allow people in the room with us. How are we going to do that? He said, we'll figure it out. Just say yes. So I said yes. And within days, the flight restrictions were lifted. And I went to the studio in Pennsylvania and we filmed for 3 days. And his session, the main session, once we got all the other stuff filmed, was about 6.5 hours, which I never do with anyone. But the man went, and he went so deep and so easily that we could not stop filming. And I kept asking, I always check in. I'm like, is John's body doing okay? Does he need a break? No, he's doing fine. His higher self kept saying, no, he's fine. He wants to keep going. The wisdom, notwithstanding the fact that he uncovered what really happened, which was totally not Ultraman. And I don't want to give it away, but it's very powerful. The wisdom that came out of his mouth after that was just kind of what I call the timing mechanism. That was the thing that made him want to go in and look at this thing. But once he went in and saw the reality of it, then suddenly he was in coherency with the field, and he was saying what the beings had been trying to get him to do. He had his call to action, which is to tell the world, you better get your stuff together right now, or you're going to perish and the planet will perish. And we've been trying to help you, and now it's your turn.
It's pretty much like yours when you were younger too. This call to action, teaching the children so that they can influence the future. I just thought that was cool that there was such a similarity. Yeah.
And Whitley Strieber, who is very much our kind of master of ceremonies in the film, our expert, talks about that secret school. He went to it himself, so he knows what it's like. But it's a very powerful film. I don't want to give a lot of it away, but what I will say is, after that session, he was so moved and so just bowled over by what happened. He said, wow, that was the most powerful thing ever. And I said, yeah, I hear that every day. And he said, really? You hear things like what I just said every day? And I said, yeah, everybody, all the experiences tell me pretty much the same thing, different variables. And at first he looked kind of hurt, like, oh, I'm not so special after all. And then he said, you could see his filmmaker's mind. And he said, do you think any of those people would want to be on film? I think we have a movie here. And I said, I don't know, but I can ask. And we did. We surveyed probably a couple of hundred of my clients, and we came up with the experiencers you see in the film. All of them are real. In fact, most of them now are my dear friends, and we're getting ready to, they always come to this big retreat I do every year in in the fall in Wisconsin, where a lot of that film was made at a resort that my friend owns, and they help with the retreat. But anyway, the film is very early on. John realized that it should be a trilogy, and that was the first part. That was the discovery. The next one was going to see about expanding the information, like what else is out there, how else is contact with the consciousness happening. And so we were going to explore many different forms, like Ray Hernandez. I don't know if you know who he is, but he coined the term contact modalities, all the contact modalities.
Right.
We were in the middle of getting everything together for that second film when he got sick, and then so it never got made. But guess what? It's being made. I mean, other people are taking the helm and making these films. Ray made a film himself, and so it's getting ready to come out. But
groundbreaking movie.
Thank you. It was a labor of love. I will tell you, no one in the movie got paid a cent. We did it all for free. Even Whitley hardly ever takes anything.
So how did you get Whitley over there? I was just curious because I wanted to ask that.
Well, during the build of the film, as it kept building and building and building, John, he just kept getting guidance, and the guidance said, you need someone to weave all of this stuff together who's a noted expert. And he, John is an even bigger bibliophile than I am. He had a library of about 3,000 books. And by the time this little 2-3 year period was finished, where we had met until the time we were filming, he probably had read 200 or 300 books on the subject, all of Whitley's stuff, especially. And he was enamored with Whitley. He said, man, I wish we could get Whitley Strieber. Do you know how to do it? And I didn't. I had some friends who were friends of Whitley's, but, I didn't know how to approach that. I don't, I've always held Whitley Strieber up like this. I've always wanted to meet him myself. Again, in deep meditation, the teachers came in and said, call your friend Mark Sims out in California. He's a good friend of Whitley's. Ask Mark to ask Whitley if you can have a meeting with him, with John. I called Mark, and Mark's like, sure, I'll tell him. And within days, we had a meeting with Whitley, and Whitley said, absolutely, I'd be very honored. And so we flew out to California, and Mark actually hosted us at his beautiful place in Ojai. And that's where the other part of the film was filmed. And that's how we got Whitley. And Whitley and John especially bonded so deeply. And it's just a beautiful thing. You can feel the energy and the synergy in that film. And by the way, I do want to just say one thing about the energy of the film. Early on, with the guidance, we were told this film is it's going to be encoded with like light codes. So whoever watches it, whoever is exposed to it, is going to be changed. It's going to have revelations. It's going to have an upgrade. So you cannot work on this film. No one can be involved in this film who is in a bad mood, who is a skeptic. I don't care how good they are. You have to make sure the energy is high. The vibrational state of everybody is high working on this film. So you feel that in that film.
Well, I will tell you, when the film came out, and I'll have to be honest with you, the only reason why I got to the film was our connection with Susan from the Jackrabbit Abduction Enigma case. Again, we both know that she found the film the day it was, I guess,
the day it premiered.
The day it premiered. And so that was her connection. That was her. But for whatever it's worth, and I've never seen a film that spoke of that subject of abduction, of trauma, and it's such a high caliber done movie. I mean, it is. It's a very high caliber done movie.
Thank you.
And Whitney and John would be proud of it. And then, of course, the other aspect I think is really cool, besides what your involvement, the experiencers and the counseling and the groups and the thing that they provide for the people who've either been involved in that or think they've been involved in it or have hidden trauma that they don't want to admit. The movie is just, it reveals everything. It reveals John's story. It reveals what he saw, what you both talked about. It reveals what Whitley was sharing and then others. I just can't emphasize, especially for those who are in MUFON ERT or MUFON just in general, or anybody who's interested in ufology, past just the nuts and bolts. And I get the nuts and bolts because that's part of our fear. We want to slide into what we're doing. But this really gets into an area of not just that ufology, but it gets into an area of who we are and what we're exposed to. And that's really, and again, I've often said, especially at the beginning of the show, the last thing I said is, we are the phenomenon.
We are.
This is all about us. Not all about some, don't get me wrong, it is. It's not all about the other parts of who we are and the other aspects of who we're involved. But this is about our ride. This is about our journey. This is about our place of discovery. That's what it's about more than anything. And it's through the fear. It's through the control. It's through the ups. It's through the downs. It's all of it. It's all part of it. But we're the phenomenon. And a movie like this really goes into that. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody got my thought on it and how it was. So great movie.
Thank you. I know that when Susan reached out to John immediately after watching the movie, and then John immediately sent her to me. And when we talked, she was still had a shaky voice when she was talking to me. She said, I had been keeping something quiet for decades.
She was just coming out. She was just coming out.
Like I was just living with this and suppressing it, but still wondering what in the world happened to me. And she wasn't even, really doing anything about it. But one night she said she was just sitting in her living room, I guess, scanning Amazon or something to find something to watch. And she saw the title of the movie and she just hit rent without thinking and saw the movie. And she said within 30 seconds, she got chills and said, this is me. This is what's happened. Oh my gosh. And it changed her. She was able, she reached out to John. I don't know how she even found a way to talk to him, but she did. And again, that's really weird. Like you just can't go, oh, I'm going to reach out to this filmmaker and talk to him. You usually have to go through gatekeeper after gatekeeper after gatekeeper. Same with Whitley, but it was meant to be. And when she started telling me her story, I was like, oh yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. But I can tell you what you did not see were jackrabbits. and what I can tell you is a lot more happened than what you think happened. And I would be honored to work with you and recover those memories, which I think we did.
Just for the sake of let everybody. So this is a picture that she drew. This is actually the picture that she drew of the event that you helped her uncover. That when we started with MUFON ERT, we asked them, the interview probably lasted a total of 25 hours over a period of time, And the drawings didn't start right away. They started as she was evolving, but she wanted to express it. And I just want to let everybody know, we will have Susan on at some point, Susan Alloway Ware, to tell her story. But this is the point that you see here, that they stopped in the middle of the road and they were jackrabbits. And then, of course, the story goes, they turned around, the lights went off, they were beamed up. So you see this picture right here? This is a picture I drew. But if you can see it, and then you may have to blow it up, but it's half of it, it's a jackrabbit. The other half is what we would call a gray or whatever. Yeah, but that's what happens, and that's the screen memory. And then this road that you see on the other side, I don't know if you can tell, but this is the actual road in the area that she drew the picture 36 years later, that we were able to find the road area that had happened. And because of the memories that she was able to recover, she was able to provide this sort of detail And it was just a cool coincidences that she reached out to John, and John told her about you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you and her had a session, and all that was revealed as a result of that. And then, of course, reaching out to Preston, which we had. He was really, really good.
Such a great guy.
Yeah, and that's coming up pretty soon. But Susan was just, and her case. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure everybody saw.
Yeah, but that picture, that she drew. What the people who haven't heard the story. I mean, these two girls had just gotten out of the military, and they were driving a convertible from one coast to the next, from the west coast to the east. They're out in the desert, and suddenly the sky got very dark. They looked up, there weren't any stars, which tells me there was a big craft. And they were thinking, wow, that's weird. They both got out of the car for some reason and stood there and saw human-sized jackrabbits in the road, human-sized or bigger. And then, as you said, when they turned around, she saw they were not human. And then they got beamed up, and the next thing you know, hours later,
9 hours later, 400 miles away, they wake up in a diner in Grand Junction, Colorado. By the way, the car was with them. They had the same miles that they had on the car and the same amount of gas 9 miles and 400 miles earlier. So the car somehow got where they were.
As well.
And
the reason why we know that is she was very meticulous. She had one of those little booklets that we used to do.
Booklet.
And she would write down, because they were transporting another person's car.
Right.
And they wanted to track that for him. So she wrote down, where they bought gas, how much gas, how many miles between, and everything. They knew what the miles were, and they knew how much gas they had. And they were 9 hours later wound up in Grand Junction, Colorado, waking up in a diner. A waitress woke them up, and they're like, what? And of course, we won't tell the whole story because it's such a fabulous story. But what I have to say is kudos to you, Richard, and it was a blessing that you were the one who got assigned to it because of your investigative, prowess. You were able to pull things from her, details that you could actually validate. I mean, we actually know where they were, and I think you've actually have you found the diner?
I actually called it, and I was
wild.
Yeah, I was trying to see if it was where it was when they said, and I actually saw the big red rock monolith
that
they saw when they woke up. And
out the window. Yeah.
And so again, we're not questioning them, but it actually helps them because it validates their own memories, which brings validation to them that I'm not crazy or whatever's going on. But you're right. It was actually a really cool experience.
And she has just taken off. I mean, her whole life has changed since this has happened. She's one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, one of the sweetest souls. And this case, I don't think you mentioned it, but it was named MUFON Case of the Year last year.
That was one of the 5 cases in 2024. Yeah.
That's how extraordinary it was. So I can't wait for you to have her on because that's going to be quite a show.
It would be really, really, really cool. I just want to make sure that I don't want to forget what we were talking about. But so this is you and John at the premiere, right?
That's at our premiere. We had it in Eau Claire, Wisconsin at a horror sci-fi film festival. It actually won Best Film of the Film Festival before it ever came out to the public. And then The Communion, which is Whitley Strieber's first book on the subject. It was about his own, beginning into this exploration of
open up all kinds of doors for people.
It did for me. It literally fell off the top of a bookshelf of parenting books. I was looking for a potty training book for my baby, and that book fell off of the bookshelf in that area of the bookstore and about broke my toe. And I'm like, what's this doing here? And the minute I saw that face on the book, I'm like, how did this person see what I've seen my whole life?
Right.
Because
And
I've
of
seen
course,
that.
this is the poster for those of you who are looking for it. And then there is a website that's listed down there, the trailer, and for those who actually, want to view it. So I just think that is just so cool that we're able to see that and do that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and people can find the link to it on my website too. It's on most streaming services, and you can even buy a hard copy at Amazon. Not advertising for Amazon, but the hard copy actually has extra material on it where we were filming with Whitley, and Whitley tells the story of he and his wife Annie, who after she passed, he and Annie have written probably 10 books together since she passed, because in his abductions, he had an implant in his ear that he wanted taken out, and she kept saying, no, don't take it out. Eventually, he just let her win, and he didn't know why it was there. It was bothering him. He was mad about it, and after she passed, he realized that's how she was connecting with him. She started connecting with him, and they still work as a couple. He wears both wedding rings on his finger, and I even had an encounter with Annie during our filming, which was really funny. Funny story. Just, he got into this very, very emotional story about her, and he had her picture behind him in the office that we were filming him in, and he broke down and cried, and John said, cut film, let's let him have his time. And I was looking at him, and the photograph of this beautiful photograph of his wife sitting behind him, and she came to life and went like that and pointed at him. And then the photograph became the photograph again. And I felt so funny. And I went over and hugged him, and I whispered in his ear, and I said, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but Annie just came to life and was making fun of you for crying. And he goes, oh my gosh, she does that all the time.
Wow.
That is her. You had contact with her. And after that, I've had contact with Annie. So she even followed me home. So we just, these things, it's like this intricate web, right, of things that keep happening. But the reason why I bring it up is if you buy the hard copy of that DVD, his tribute to his wife is on there.
So talk about her and the work that she did on his book, Them, and all the cataloging of all the letters from people who were touched by. Yeah. So, I mean, she was just an incredible amount of work. I just thought that was actually pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And again, I can't express that if you're interested and this is something that you want to find out more, you got to see the movie, and you'll appreciate it, and it'll be what you want it to be.
I just have to say, those of us who are super lucky to have spouses or family members who support our work, who don't, degrade us or think we're crazy, we're very rare. I'm one of those people. My husband 100% supports my work, and he's an experiencer too, but he's a professional musician. That's his thing. He doesn't go out and do the sky watches at the retreats and all that. But when he's home and we're home together, we go outside at night and have these experiences together. But he always is so supportive emotionally and is not afraid to let people know, when people say, well, what does your wife do? He tells them, and he comes up with great research once in a while for me to look at when he's on his breaks. Whitley was lucky with his wife. John was very lucky with his wife, Lisa. She always supported 100% his work, even though she didn't understand it at all at first. We're just very, very grateful. So I just have to say, I'm just very lucky.
So one of the things before we leave that part of it, so are they actively working on the second part or the third part? Do you know if there's anything in production or any type of research that's doing like pre-production stuff on?
Well, the second film was going to be about the contact modalities, and Ray Nario Hernandez, went ahead, and it wasn't in John's honor or anything. He was then, I think he just got passed the baton.
Oh, I see.
And someone came to him and said, "Hey, let's make a film about the contact modalities." And I think it's either out or it's getting ready to come out. And it's called the contact modalities. So if anybody wants to know about that, just look up contactmodalities.com and you'll see that trailer and all that. The third film was supposed to be about, okay, now that you've discovered this, now that you've found all these other ways to make contact, now what are you going to do with all of this to save the world? That I don't know, but John speaks to me every day and says, don't worry about it. It's going to be made. Someone will make that and it's going to be perfect. But whether I'll be involved or not doesn't matter. It's just the information is getting out there. So he told me right after he passed, he's like, the mission hasn't stopped. You've got to get up out of your chair and quit feeling sorry for yourself. You got to keep doing the work. And this work is going to be supported by many people and by many beings. So it's out there.
So, it's funny. I want to get to this last part that we were talking about, which is we want to try to have you put us through just a couple of minutes or 3 minute type of meditation. And the idea is and one of the questions I had here, and I think you've already answered it, but it's a good thing to I guess state before we get in it. So the question is this: is consciousness, and this is a big question, who we really are as opposed to just merely physical beings? So that's the first thing. And then this idea in terms of, so one of the things you said about your purpose, or you call it your mission in life, is clarity, purpose, and love. Mm-hmm. And so talk to us about, is that who we are, consciousness? And if that is who we are, is that really where we should emphasize everything that we're doing, besides balancing with our physical beings? And then, your how do you do that according to your mission statement, for you? And then I'd like to get in, if we can, to the meditation, and then maybe some closing thoughts from you. So,
sure. Well, all I can say is anyone who's listening to this, number one, I know this is going to sound woo-woo, but you were meant to hear these words. You were meant to hear what we've said today, and it's touched you in some way. Whether you are already on the mission to help, lift the world up, to help lift yourself up, your family members, whatever, it doesn't matter. All of us are on the same mission, and that is to move forward and expand in our conscious awareness. So congratulations. You just got your call to action, and watching this show, whether you feel it or not yet, you'll start to notice some things happening. I truly believe this. This is how we work. And then how do you do it? The easiest way is to do what makes you feel the happiest, what makes you feel the most joy, what makes you feel the most gratitude, the most love, and be that. Gandhi said it best: be the change you want to see in the world. Be the best you can be, is what the teachers always say. Just go out there every day and be your best self. You don't have to become some famous speaker about any of this. Just be a very good person and live as if it's already happened. And if you need help, I'm happy to help show you how I do it. But what I think we can do, I'm looking, because I wanted to put like a little music behind this, but I don't know if I can get to it.
Do you have a particular place that I can go to find the music, and then maybe I can, or go ahead?
Yeah, no, I have it here. Let's see. I'm just looking for the right one, because some of my stuff is really high energy stuff.
And again, the purpose of this is just to give everybody an idea.
Just a taste, yeah.
An idea about just calming themselves, listening to themselves. And it's a very short thing.
Yeah, I won't do the music. Let's just do voice, because in my sessions, I don't do music, only in the workshops. So what I would tell everybody, if you're ready, is to just get comfortable. Wherever you are, you can sit up, you can lie down. Make sure that your spine's kind of nice and straight. And if you like, close your eyes. But while you're closing your eyes, look up to the place right there above your nose between your eyebrows and let your eyes close down while you're doing that. There's a neuroscience reason why we do that, but it's also a yogic technology. It helps you focus and become calm. And then just take a nice deep breath in with me through the nose. Fill your belly up and your back and chest, and then exhale through your mouth, maybe just a ha sound or a sigh. You can let your eyes relax, let the body relax, and just breathe with me. Just nice deep breath in through the nose. And then let that breath go. And just keep breathing that way as you listen to the sound of my voice. Just let my voice be your guide for a moment. Let go of the outside world. It's going to spin with or without your attention. And you can come back to it when you're in a better place, more strong, more powerful, more secure in who you are, which is an unlimited and eternal being. And as you listen to the sound of my voice, let the outside world kind of slip away, just drift away. Let your body relax. Let your jaws become very relaxed. Your shoulders. Let your hips relax, your lower back. Let your belly relax. And on your next inhale, think about bringing in good feelings. Anything that brings up a memory of a good feeling, love or joy, a memory, and breathe that in and just feel that feeling in your heart and in your body. And as you exhale now, let everything that isn't that go. Just let it drain out of you like water out of a hose. And as you just begin to think about maybe the happiest memory you've ever had, something that made you feel joyful or victorious or comfortable or grateful, give it all the sensory input you can. What were the colors, the sounds, the feelings, the textures, the smells, the tastes? See that in your mind's eye, or feel it, perceive it, however you best can get attached to that. Give it all the sensory input you can. And let that just expand from your heart throughout your body. And let it go even outside your body, expanding and forming a kind of an orb around your body. A translucent, beautiful sphere of energy filled with all this love, this happiness, this joy. And feel yourself kind of floating in the center of this sphere. And know that this sphere is your consciousness. It's always with you. It's protecting you. It's nourishing you. But if you continuously fill it, every time you can think of it, consciously with something that has made you feel good or something that you dream about that would make you feel wonderful, keep filling that orb with those feelings. It will take you anywhere you want to go. It'll take you to memories you thought were locked up. It'll take you to solutions for problems that you thought could not be solved. It'll take you to healing. It'll take you on adventures. But most of all, it protects you from the lower vibrational states of being. And if any should try to get into your conscious awareness, they're going to bounce off the side of that orb and be affected by its high vibrational state, and it's going to go back to its source, whether that was a person saying something mean to you or a situation. It's going to go back infected with this love, this joy, this feeling of goodness. It's going to start to work on that person or that situation silently. So this isn't a selfish pursuit. You want to feel good, come into this orb and bring it with all the feelings that you want to feel, daydream, create. This is where you come for inspiration. This is where you come for softness, for gentleness, but also for strength. And know that it's a self-perpetuating energy, but it also affects your outside world. So it's not a selfish pursuit to come in here. And if you do this every day, you're going to see your life start to change in a very positive way. Just feel the goodness of this. Relax even more. Perhaps even allow yourself to receive a special message from the higher versions of yourself right now as I stop talking for a minute. And just receive all that love and that message right now. And excellent. And allow yourself to remember everything that you experienced, and allow yourself to program yourself right now to do this practice as often as you possibly can, whenever you can, to keep lifting your vibrational state. Change your vibrational state, you change your mind. When you change your mind, you change your body. And when you change your body and your mind, you change your world, little by little by little. Good. And now allow yourself to just come back into your body. Feel how comfortable you are. Feel how light you feel. Feel how full of light you are. Know that that orb is always with you, but just let it kind of dissolve away from your vision. Come back and allow the gravitational embrace of Mother Earth to hold you to her again. Feel the heaviness of your body against whatever support you're against. Feel your blood pumping through your heart and your veins. Feel your lungs breathing that air. You might want to wiggle your fingers and toes now and stretch and flutter your eyelids and come on back. Totally a new version of you. U.20.
And you know, the whole point, and thank you. Again, we just want, this is what you and I talked about, we just want to give light, shine light into maybe a path, maybe a direction, maybe a thought that you could take if you want to and offer. And what you and I have talked about and others have talked about, the path, we believe, to your involvement and your awareness is inside of you.
It is.
And when you're quiet and you tune out all of that stuff, you start listening to subtle, supple voices, energies, pictures, and it just keeps growing and growing. But the other thing is it's a place of sanctuary.
It is.
Of quiet, of protection, of love. And that's all we wanted to make sure that everybody had. Debz, you know, it's been incredible that you have come. So, you know, we're getting to the point where we're almost finished. But I just want you to have the opportunity to say whatever you want in terms of advice or comments to those out there before you go. And then CJ and I will finish. But so whatever you think.
Thanks so much. I just really want to encourage everyone to be encouraged. The world seems to be out of its mind if you pay attention to social media and just whatever's flying through the airwaves right now. But know that that's just a distraction. That's an ego's distraction, that your ego wants you to stay pinned to this reality because it's afraid if you realize that you're unlimited and that you can travel anywhere in your consciousness that you want and receive whatever you can, that you won't need it. And it's afraid of death, just like most people are afraid of. So let it come along on the ride with you and keep practicing. And the more you do, the less it starts screaming, and the more you realize that the world isn't as crazy as everybody tries to make it out to be. The world's going to world, but it doesn't have to affect you in that way. You can affect it in a positive way. So I just invite people to keep practicing. And you can go to my website to get tons of free tutorials on how to do this. You don't have to make an appointment with me or anyone else. There's a lot of free information on there. And if you do want a session, less work. But yeah, that's the main message is, and then teach everybody else what you're learning. Teach others what you're learning. Thanks for posting all those links. That's great. I'm on almost all social media, but I post most of the stuff on my website and my YouTube channel. So unless it's private, of course. And all my sessions are private and very confidential, by the way. Did you want me to talk about some of the retreats and things that are coming up? Or
if you want to suggest it, the other thing I'd like for you to mention just before we go.
About the podcast.
Okay, so you have a podcast real quick, and then
Hidden Variables is just a podcast where I talk to people who are making a difference in the world. It's not all about ETs or anything like that. Sometimes it is. You see my cosmic brother Arthur there. He's in that film, by the way. He's an artist and a musician and a teacher at a college in Atlanta. But we work together very closely. But that podcast, it's on my YouTube channel. It's on a special tab on my YouTube channel. And you can go back and see tons and tons of interviews, including our friend Earl, who passed not long ago, Earl Grey, and including Susan, who we were just talking about. So thank you for that. The retreat that I'm getting ready to do here next week, it sold out very, very quickly. We have Chris Bledsoe and almost the whole Bledsoe family coming, along with all the stuff that we always do. And it's called the Contact Modalities Experiment. So it is about the contact modalities. The next one will be, I'm going to be, CJ, you were talking about being part Portuguese. It's going to be in Algarve, Portugal, at the end of October.
In the Algarve.
Algarve, is that it?
It's called the Algarve. It's southern Portugal. It's all the beach communities down there.
Yeah, it's on
the
a beach.
Riviera of Europe, the Algarve.
It's so beautiful. Can't wait for that. And that I'm going to be helping the great Wendy Gallant from Ontario, Canada, who works with Mindsight. Her work is called Seeing Beyond Eyes. We do all kinds of seeing without eyes, including remote viewing and intuitive sight and blindfold seeing. And she teaches the blind how to see, which is just amazing work. I'm very honored to get to do that. So that's at the end of October. And then about a week later, I'll be doing in Wisconsin again, a very exciting remote viewing retreat with the great Yemi Janae, who's from the Farsight Institute, and I'll be working with her. So those are some of the things that are coming up. And again, those are all on my website. I can't wait for this next week. I was at an expo with Chris Bledsoe back in May, and I literally had a personal healing. Sometimes healers can't heal themselves, and I was suffering from a very serious illness and didn't tell anyone. Only my best friend knew, and my husband, but no one there knew. And on the last day of the expo, I was with Chris, and I won't go into it, but he's known for being able to pull healing through those beings for other people. And we were just talking, and he literally just put his sweet hand on my lower back and was patting me like that ET was doing when I was an infant. Now that I think about it, was just patting me on the back. And instantly I felt all this love And suddenly I felt completely different. And I have been completely healed ever since. And when I went to talk to him about it after we returned home, he just said, "Oh no, this is just," he has a Southern accent. "This is just what we do. I didn't have anything to do with it. It was just, we were just friends talking and it came through." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you are so humble."
Well, Deb, I just want to say thank you very much for what you've done, and thank you for the experiences that we have. And we wish you all the blessings and love and work, and we're very happy that you came. So thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you both for having me. I appreciate you all so much. And Richard, I offered you a session before. It still stands. CJ, same for you. If you ever want it, just hit me up once we get a space of time and we can do it. But I'd be pleased to take you on the journey. So anyway, thanks to everyone. And
thank you.
Please keep watching this show because they've got so many great people coming up.
Very nice. Take care, Deb.
Thank you.
You can hang out in the green room. We'll be out in a second if you want. Yeah.
All right, CJ. It's your,
we've only got a minute or two left. I don't know if it's going to cut us off, but just thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for being here. And I just wanted you to know our show goes live every other week. And when we're not live, it's Alex and Ruben, two other MUFON field investigators, and they do a show called Up Close that is probably going to start airing very soon to when this show goes live. So I thought I'd just mention that. And please tune in next week for Francisco Mora Correa so we can get into Marian apparitions through the eyes of ufology. Take it away, Richard.
And so I just wanted everybody to know you're not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop, the entire ocean. Rumi again. Thank you, everybody, for coming. In Lakesh, Lakesh, that is actually Deb saying, it's a Mayan saying, it's like namaste, but it means that I am another you. And that's how we should see each other. So everybody have a good day. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.